Hello, 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 and welcome, day ones. Welcome to Off the Cuffs with my Day Ones, the official podcast brought to you by Day Ones Production Group. And my name is Antonia Lynch, aka Teacher Tony, and I will be your host for this ride. And I'm super excited, of course, to welcome you all to the Global Educators Movement. And here at Day Ones, we are working to change the vision, the view, the mentality in education, one pillar at a time. So we want you to prepare yourselves by uncuffing from all of the norms, the stigmas you have about education, any negative thoughts, and just get into this candid talk about education with us and unstrap yourselves because we are ready to let it go. And so tonight, I am more than privileged to be having this great one-on-one conversation with another guest educator, Yarritza Delgado. How you doing, sis?
Good. How are you? I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of something so wonderful and so great. I'm all for the movement. Let's do this.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm so glad you're here. And it's so amazing to, first of all, you're looking good, sis, over there. Okay.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk
I'm
about that.
trying.
You're looking good. I love it. And I'm so happy. And I just want to thank you. Before we even start, I love to just say it's hard for everyone to get on here. This platform, being live, sharing our voices, being vulnerable in front of the camera is a hard thing. And so I just want to thank you first and foremost for coming on the show, lending your voice and your experiences, because people out there in TV land and internet land and teacher land need to hear from us. And they need to understand that it's okay to share and it's okay to be vulnerable. So this week, we're going to be looking at this specific topic. We're going to be looking at expectations and teacher expectations. And of course, our questions for today, we're going to be asking, what are teacher expectations? Of course, across the field for parents, students, for administration, education as a whole. And has working in education really met our expectations? I mean, I think it's really important that we talk about it. Last week, we looked at why we're teaching and why we're coming into the field, and we hit on if it's meeting our expectations, but we have to dig a little deeper. It's really important that we dig a little deeper. And so today we're going to do that, and we're going to start with my sis, and she's here. So Delgado, I love you, and I'm so glad you're here. But I want to start off by asking you, just like I like to get to know educators in a sense of why are you teaching? Like, what really brought you to this whole thing, this teaching field, this education field?
So,
What brought you here?
I never wanted to be a teacher. I was interested in law. I'm a good, let me get my point across type of person. And I like a good argument. So I really thought that was the direction that I was going to go in. And then my junior year in high school, I got this teacher who worked me so hard and made me realize who I really was. He made me look deep within and see my true potential. Um, he challenged me in ways that I've never been challenged before. And I passed his class, worked so hard. I did everything I needed to do. And then I realized I want to be that someone for someone else. I want to be that teacher for a student. I want to be that teacher who helps somebody realize what their true purpose and goal in life should be or is. And so that's exactly what he did for me. And so here I am teaching.
All right. Now look at that. That's amazing. First and foremost, it's always good to hear that someone pretty much laid the path for you. Like sometimes we never consider what our greatness is because we don't often see it. We don't really know. And so the fact that someone was there to nurture it, to really pull it out and set that example for you, I mean, kudos to them. Kudos to teachers who've done that. So yes, teachers, yes. But now that we know why you kind of got into education, what are your actual qualifications? What actually makes you a teacher?
So I started off my education career as a paraprofessional. I was really young, 20 years old, jumping into education. I was a paraprofessional for 8 years. About year 6, I decided I need to be the leader. I need to be running a classroom. And so I took a leave of absence from my job, went back to school full time, and here I am now. I have a bachelor's in childhood education, 1 through 6. I have my first master's in literacy specialist from birth
Mm-hmm.
through 12th grade. And I am currently in a program for my second master's in educational leadership. So
Okay.
hopefully I'm going to do something great. Well, I know I
Yeah,
am. So
you will. Yes.
I
No,
will.
hope nothing.
Oh,
Nah,
no,
you're gonna.
I am going to do something great with all this.
Yes, you are going to do something amazing and great. And so, well, that's super exciting. But so we'll get into why you jumped into administration. But maybe we will jump into that. Why are you going for your master's in administration? What kind of led you there?
I'm very unhappy with the current educational system. I feel like as a whole, we're failing children. And
Mm,
because of that, I have to decide where I stand and what
mm-hmm.
my mission in all this is. And I can either sit back and watch everything fall apart, or I can be that change that needs to happen. I have a girlfriend that always tells me sometimes you got to be a spoon and stir some stuff up. So I'm ready to stir some stuff up. I just want to, I want to change. I want to bring happiness, love, hope, just great things, success to education. So many things that we've
Yes.
lost in the process. So
Yes.
I feel like I'm ready to change. I want to be a rebel. I want people to say, "Did you see what Miss Delgado did?" I just want to. I want to do that. I want people to love their job again. I want people to love teachers again. I just want it to all be this happy place that I remember it being when I first started, which is why I became a teacher, because it was so great and it never felt like a job. It felt like
Yes. Oh,
it felt like this is my life and this is what I'm supposed to do. You go into teaching because it is a service. You provide a service to students and families, and so I
mm-hmm.
wanted to provide a service. And now, as administrator, I hope that I can have teachers realize why they got into education, help teachers
Mm-hmm.
become better educators, help teachers understand brown and black children, because I teach in a community that's predominantly African American and Hispanic. So having teachers understand, educating teachers on the challenges that we face in the community, because I am a product of the district that I work for. My children are a
Mm-hmm.
product of the district that I work for. So, and I just can't see it fall apart. I have to see it
Mm.
grow and do better. So
Oh,
it
I
brought me
love
to,
that.
and I always say that the most important part of education are the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes, it really is.
so many administrators get into administration and forget that if it
They
wasn't
do.
for those
Ooh,
teachers that run that building for you, there would be no building. There would be
it
no
would be
education.
no building. The building would collapse. It would
So I
collapse
need.
down.
I feel like that's one of the things that administration needs to show more value in their educators. And so I want to be able to
Mm-hmm.
bring that. I want to be able to
Wow.
show to help teachers bring out their potential that they may not even see themselves having, because they're burnt out or disappointed in expectations not being met or things not going the way that they think they should.
Oh yes, I love it. The passion is real. Says first of all, let's talk about it. I love your passion and the fact that you're saying yes, I want to stir the pot. I want to be the change. I remember in undergrad they would always say educators are supposed to be change agents. We're working to be change
Yes,
agents. And yes, a change agent is going to stir the pot. Is going to be the spoon, like you said, and is going to fight for a change because we love this. This is what I love how you phrase it. You said it's a service, but it's also a passion, like a calling. Like
yes,
once you get into it, you feel it. You feel just so good there, and that feeling is going away. And it's
it's sad.
whoa, it is,
Man,
it is,
we're
and so
losing
it's
so many
hard.
educators. We're losing great educators to other
Great
professions,
educators.
to even other districts, countries, cities, states. It's just all changing and shifting in a manner that is
Yes,
so disheartening to all, especially me.
it truly is.
It is. It really is.
We're on the same. I love it because absolutely that is we're losing teachers, and I mean it's sad to say we're losing teachers, but I think it stems from these questions that we're going to be looking at today. It stems from our expectations, and I
Absolutely.
think that when we start asking ourselves about our expectations as educators, I think we'll start to align ourselves, or at least remind ourselves of what are the initial things that we're looking to do to give and to receive. And so I think that's super important. So, of course, we're going to start with that. So, we're going to be looking at what are teacher expectations? So I'm going to break it down in different areas so that way we can kind of get them out. So first, we're going to start with your students. What are your expectations for your students?
So one of the things I say all the time is that I run my classroom like my household. So I tell them I,
Mm-hmm.
I go hard for my students. They're like my kids. So if I'm out here going hard for you, you need to behave a certain way. You represent me. When people see you in
Mm-hmm.
the hallway, I want them to be like, those are Miss Delgado's kids. Don't mess with them. I tell my kids, you with me 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. Those 6 hours a day, those 5 days a week, your last name is Delgado. We're a
Yeah.
family. I'm building
Yes,
those
I love
relationships.
it.
I want them to feel a part of something. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the best way to, for me, that's the best way to put it is this is my home, this is my family, and you're a part of it. So I want
Wow.
my
Ooh.
students to think that way, to think about what it means to be a part of a community, a
Mm-hmm.
family, to
Mm-hmm.
value your peers, your classmates, to understand that you work together for success, not apart. Because it's so easy to break
Yes.
people down and so much harder to build them up. So I always want to make sure that students understand how important it is to be a positive, productive member of your community.
Wow, I love that. Oh, you and that's a really good starting point, right? Because if you imagine just being a student, I remember when I was growing up, I didn't feel like a part of my community, and I definitely didn't feel a part of the classroom community because I remember teachers who were just so harsh on me. They just didn't connect or didn't have a great connection with me, right? And so when we set that expectation that we're family one, so as a family we're going to work together as a family, we're going to do as a family, we're going to respect each other as a family. I think that definitely builds that connection with kids so that they feel safe to talk to you and open. So I love that as an expectation for your students. But what about their parents though? Because we cannot
So
leave the parents.
no, I tell them, I tell my parents all the time, one of the first things I do is I send home a letter about myself. I'm transparent. I want them to know that before I'm a teacher, I'm a mother. I'm a woman. I experience some of the same things that they do. I live in the same community that they do. I'm open and I'm the teacher. You're the parent. No, we're the same because we have the same goal in mind. It's for your
Mm-hmm.
child, our children to be successful.
Our kids.
Our kids got to be successful. Absolutely. So I try to build,
Yes.
the expectation is for parents to be open and honest, for us to have
Mm-hmm.
for us to have that communication. I give my cell phone number to every single student I have and to every single parent. And the reason why
Mm.
is because I need them to know that I am available, that I am here to
Mm-hmm.
provide that service, that they can trust me, that they can come to me with anything. So that's the
Mm.
expectations I set for them. And in turn, it works because now they're like, hold on, she's giving up what other teachers have not, or
Mm-hmm.
what is not expected of her, but it's expected of me for me in order to be successful teacher for them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I always put that, I always let my parents know, I say it all the time, I'm here for you. So when I call you and I say, hey, I need your help, I'm expecting that in
Mm-hmm.
return because when you call me and say you need mine, it's part of
Mm-hmm.
my parents understanding that they're also a part of this community, that this is your
Yes.
classroom. I always tell my parents, don't, you could come anytime you want to. My door is open. Anything I say to your child when you're not here, I will say it when you are here. This is us working together, and I can't do it on my own.
Mm.
As an
Yes,
educator,
that teamwork.
I cannot, I tell parents all the time, I can't do this without you.
Mm-hmm.
So in
It's so
order for us to,
true.
and so many times it's a battle between parents and teachers. But I think for me, what has made it so that I don't have those battles is that I don't use the I'm the teacher card. I don't use that.
Yeah.
My expectation is that the two of us are the same, and I'm gonna talk
Mm-hmm.
to you in a language that you understand. I'm not gonna use vocabulary and things that you're looking at me like this lady's crazy. I don't know what she's talking about. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I do something like that to you, then your expectations of who I am are not being met because now I'm talking to you like you're beneath me instead of us working together as a team to ensure
Yes.
our children. So that's
I
an
love
expectation
that.
that works both ways. You respect me and I respect you because we're one and the same. And
Yes,
when the
exactly.
parents feel that way about you, that trickles down to their children, and now there's another
Mm-hmm.
expectation that's automatically met
Oh,
because
I love
everybody
that.
feels the same way. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
feels the same way.
Oh, I love that. That is, oh, girl, listen.
No, don't get
So
me started because I can.
listen, I love it. No, I love it because the most important part of the teacher parent relationship is the relationship, is
It is
creating
the
a space where we're the
relationship.
team. We are a team. I am not above you. You are not beneath me. We are a team,
Yes,
parents. And I want you to be on board with what we're doing for your child because our baby, your baby and mine, has to move forward in life. And I want the best for them. You want the best so let's want the best for them together.
absolutely.
So you hit so many great, you just gave me a lot of really great expectations for not only the parents, but the students. But now we have to dig a little further because we have these expectations for children and for their parents. But what about our administrations? What about the people who govern what we do within the classroom and within the school itself? What
Hmm.
about the expectations we should have for them?
I mean, it gets a little sticky there because again, it's one of those things where I'm the administrator, you're the teacher, and that also has to be not
Mm,
how it's portrayed. And at the end of the day, when you say that to a teacher, now I'm the child and you're the adult. Not we're colleagues and we need to figure out how this works. Like
mm-hmm,
that whole idea that principals reprimand and chastise teachers or instead of working with them, encouraging them,
mm-hmm,
guiding them. Because at the end of the day, that's your job as an administrator is to ensure that your teachers are providing a service that you would provide yourself, that you stand behind.
mm-hmm. Yes,
Because
that quality service, that
yes,
100%
that service that
guarantee.
you're able to say, I stand behind this teacher because she's giving the quality service that I have taught her to do, that I have guided her to give. And so that's the
Mm-hmm,
expectation that administrators, not uh, always an evaluation or an evaluative eye, but instead of
mm-hmm.
a coaching eye, an eye of guidance.
Yes,
That's
yes.
a real expectation. And I think a lot of times, so many administrators forget what it's like to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm. They
And
walk
then
out
we
the
have
classroom and forget. Yes.
And then we also have those administrators who have never been teachers, who have been counselors, speech pathologists, maybe art teachers, but not classroom teachers.
Not
And
a full classroom team.
and they have no
Yes.
idea what it entails or what teachers are going through for those 6 hours a day.
Not at all. Not at
Not at
all.
all.
And
But these
and it's
expectations,
sad.
it is.
I think that's the worst because I believe that if you're an administrator, you have had to be a classroom teacher for at
Say
least
it
five
again.
years. I think that
Absolutely.
that is most important. If you've never been a full-on classroom full-time teacher for 5 or more years, then how can you administrate an educator if you
And
never know the roles that they actually play in the classroom and how our role and our connection together matters with building a future for the children. If you've never been in these shoes before, it's hard for you to walk a mile in my shoes if you've never had a pair on yourself. So it
and
makes it very, very difficult. So I totally agree. I
yeah, so the
absolutely agree with that.
expectation that administrators, like I always say, you have to have some type of instructional background. How are you running a school and guiding teachers to provide a quality education when you don't know what that even is? Because you're not familiar with the curriculum, you're not familiar with programs, with procedures, with best practice, but you're sitting
Yes.
at a position of administrator.
Yes, it
It's just
happens.
those expectations that to me that's like the top expectation. You have to have history of teaching. You have to have a background of teaching, not servicing children, of teaching
Hmm.
children, which are two totally
Yes.
different things.
Yes, it is. And you know what else I would love to add to that mix, to that whole sentence about administrators? Not just that as an administrator, you need to have had 5 years of classroom experience, but you also need to taught in different areas and different regions of your communities. So if you've only worked in a very structured, closed off community that has all their needs met, you don't know what it's like to work in the school where none of the needs are met, where
We're
they're
not.
struggling, and so if you've never worked across needs level, and I say needs level because we can go to social economical, we can use that term, but I'm going to say needs because the needs of children in lower social economic settings are severe. They need a lot more. And if you've never worked in a setting where the kids need, the family needs, the teachers need, the school needs, materials, pay, whatever the needs are, if you've never worked in that setting, you could never tell a teacher in that setting anything. You couldn't even relate or empathize with them because you've
Absolutely.
never felt
Absolutely.
the pressure of doing that on the day, working with limited resources, working with limited funds, with limited opportunities and sources for your students. Like the limitations are real. So if you've never worked in that position as an administrator, I suggest you do so before you administrate. I think
I
that
100% agree. That is to me the utmost. I mean, I don't want to take away saying that someone can't be a good administrator if they've never taught.
you
You
can be
can, but
good.
it's a totally different. You have a different viewpoint. You have a different level of compassion, a different level of understanding when you've already experienced the same thing teachers have.
Exactly, you really do. It's just like it's like someone who, we hear it all the time. Just like if, and I guess it's a very general example. If you've never lost a close loved one, a mother, a father, someone close to you,
Mm-hmm.
you can say sorry.
Yep.
Send a card, but you'll never understand how that person really feels. So you're
Journey.
usually absent of words or connections to make with them because you've never experienced
Absolutely.
it yourself. Likewise, if you're working in an area where you've been working amongst privilege and the expectations have been so high at that state because they've had everything they've needed, they don't have any deficits. If you've never
Absolutely.
worked dealing with deficits, you don't understand what it's like to climb out of them. You don't know what it's like to climb out of deficits if you've never been dug into them so deep. So you need to have those experiences to lead. And a great
Absolutely.
leader has had great experiences to really give them wisdom about the differences. And if not, they should be present then in the classroom and in these communities to really truly understand. Like if I'm in a minute, I've been given this role because I've taught in these great districts and I was out in the suburbs or wherever, and the schools were great. Everybody had everything, so the kids pretty much could just soar. And that's all your experience. At least know what it's like and vice versa, where they don't have the same opportunities to soar. How can you understand what these teachers are going through? So, girl, yes, I'm totally in
And
alignment with
I
that.
feel like that's a expectation that should be for not just administrators, for educators. I say it all the time. I'm sorry, I probably wouldn't survive teaching in a suburban district or in a suburban school because I have no background knowledge of what is needed for that community because I've never lived there. I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been a part of a suburban education. I've never received a suburban education. So I am going into something with a deficit. So I need that
Mm-hmm.
education and that background so I can service that community better. And so many teachers come to service, poverty stricken communities and have no
Mm-hmm.
idea what it's like to experience poverty and then
Ooh.
wonder why their students are coming to school and can't focus or don't want to. A friend of mine said the other day, if you want to know what it's like for a black kid in America going to school every day, go to his house and open his refrigerator door. It's the answer right
Mm.
there. You know,
Oh, that's
that's the
so.
answer,
That's
girl.
that hit the heart. Like
Doesn't it?
that
Doesn't
is
it? You never
true.
think about it like that.
It's
When I
true.
mean,
If I walk into my house and there's no food to eat, and then no lights, half of the time the heat or
nobody's there
electricity,
but me.
nobody's there. How am I going to come to school and really focus, truly focus? I
So
mean, we're talking about, and that's not even talking about higher order, like the hierarchy of yourself, of self being, this self actualization. That's not even talking about the most basic things that we need to become better people, right? So the most basic thing is food, shelter, love, those things. So imagine if half of that isn't even given. But I love how you mentioned teachers because we didn't talk about teachers. So I love that you mentioned teachers because the same presence and the same experience administrators should have, so too should those teachers. And I love that you admitted that. Like, yeah, I've never worked in an urban suburban area. I couldn't even tell you what it's like.
I
But
don't know.
we have biases though that we bring into those settings, especially when you're working in a community where I don't live like this. I don't know what these kids. I don't even know them. I remember when TikTok really started becoming popular and the kids were all on TikTok. I had no idea what they were doing. I'm just watching them.
Right, right.
What you doing? What's going on? But having the experience helps us to learn and to understand others, right? But anyhow, girl, we could go on. Let's
I mean, we could
keep
be here
going
for
through
all
these.
night, girl.
Let's keep with these questions. So we talked about expectations for parents, for students. We talked about expectations for administrators. Let's kind of pull that back though. What about teachers though? Because we did mention teachers, but we didn't dig deep into teachers. What about our peers, our fellow educators? What
Well,
about their expectations?
I say this all the time. Unfortunately, we are a profession that does not hold each other accountable.
Mm.
We are definitely a profession that we see and we turn the blind eye. We can see that teacher doing dead wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not us. We're not gonna, and it needs to stop. It needs to be no. We need to hold each other accountable. What I'm teaching
Mm-hmm.
in my room, let me help you so you can teach it in your room, especially if it's working in my room.
Oh,
Uniformity,
yes.
that consistency amongst grade levels, amongst buildings. Like it just in a school just in one school building, there shouldn't be two teachers at one grade level that are teaching two different things. If you're in the
Like
same grade
how?
level, how? You should be teaching the same exact thing, using the same exact materials. There should be anchor charts in both classrooms that mirror each other. So if anything
Mm-hmm.
happens, where this teacher needs to help out and take these kids, or vice versa, everybody knows when you start in kindergarten, you know what you're going to see in first grade. You know what you're going to see in second grade because it's all across the board for everyone the same.
Exactly.
That
I love that.
expectation for teachers needs to be set in the beginning. Like, this is how the building is run. This is what we need to do. And this is the expectation for you to follow these protocols, for you to continue the uniformity within this building so that it
Mm-hmm.
ensures success for not some students, but for all of them.
It's very true. It's very true, and I think that that's probably the expectation for teachers and holding teachers accountable.
Yes.
I think that is very true because I remember working sometimes, and I would be at school all day, all night, working hard all the time, giving a lot of myself, and other educators are like, "Well, no, I gotta go. Like, I'm not doing that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm not staying.
At
This is my
3:20 comes or
contract.
whatever.
I'm gone." Like, so it's like, wow, okay. So some expectations, and it's really funny because I remember watching this docu-series about Norway and teachers in Norway, especially since we've been looking at education across the global plane and how other countries are doing and how they stack up against America. And the reality is, when I was looking at these videos about Denmark, Norway, and Finland, and all these great places that are really servicing some great educators, the one common thread that I heard was that these educators, there was no, well, which school is the best school? Many of the interviewer was asking, like, okay, well, what's the best school here in Norway? What's the best school here in Denmark? And they were like, all of them. There is no difference because we're doing the exact same thing. So it was that uniformity, that
Yes.
having everyone in unison that made it such a great place. And to say that is to say, if we don't have teachers and set an expectation for them and hold each other accountable, then we're always going to have people who are going to be burnt out faster because they're holding the load of everything for other
Oh, they're holding the fort
educators.
down. They're holding the fort down.
Down, and other educators are watching them tumble down. And then their favorite saying is, if you die now, if you die, they'll replace you.
Oh,
And
well,
that's the mindset.
and that's terrible because a teacher isn't replaceable if you think about it. I'm not replaceable to my students. They're never going to forget that I
Listen,
was there. They're never going to
listen.
forget what I've done.
That's a twofold kind of thing, though. The
Oh,
students
girl.
won't, the people who you interact with won't. But the reality is,
The
if
district
you
will.
burn yourself out, the district will. And to that saying, the district will forget you, and the district will replace you and put another teacher or sub in place until somebody else is available. So I understand not taking, but there's teachers who will watch you carry all of this and beat yourself down to try and save the world because you're trying to be super save them, and they're watching you like, you dumb. Like, you
No,
crazy.
that's the thing. Why are you
You
saying
need to
super? I would not do that.
they have all the negative. You don't need. Why are you doing that? Like, you hear every day. I remember they would say, you know what? You're here every day. Why you do? You need to go home. Like, you have all those kids. You're always with all those kids. But I'm doing it because obviously it's a passion. It's a purpose. I have a purpose for doing it, and I'm here, so I'm going to give to the job. But if you're not, and if this is the same attitude you have in front of kids, around kids, then that pretty much it sets that standard that they're nothing. And it's funny because I remember in Sage, there was a Sage publication about culture reboot and teacher expectations, and it was talking about some of the research that a teacher can see at times. They can set their expectations with students, right? And if they don't see that that child is doing or meeting their expectations, they'll treat them as such. They won't do all that they can do to showcase that child. They will treat them like, okay, well, I know you can't do the math, so I'm not going to feed into you. I know you're not reading at that level, so I'm not going to give into you because it's your waste. And they focus a lot on those higher achieving students, and they'll put a lot more into them. And that is a one reason why so many students are not reading at the level at grade level, and why so many kids are frustrated with math and science and all of these different subject matter, because they have educators who already see the negative in them, who's
Yep.
not putting forth any more additional help or work or emphasis into their life, and just see that, oh, they're not going to do well, so, oh well, I'm not going to put more into them. But we have to hold other teachers accountable.
You
We have
have
to
to,
remind
because maybe
them.
doing well for one student may not be growing to the next grade level in reading or mastering a skill in math, but your interaction and your positive push could be something different, could help that student realize, okay, this is not for me, so now I'll find another way. And she's taught me
Mm-hmm.
how to problem solve, she's taught me how to be a hard worker, she's guided me
Mm-hmm.
into making good decisions. So you may never be get a child to the grade level they need to be, but that doesn't mean you give up and you don't provide what that child needs. You still have to go.
Exactly.
Still,
Or even show them, right? And I hate to interrupt, I'm sorry, but or even show them that they need it, that you mean it, that you're there for them. You don't, and I love that you said that, like, wow, you don't have to, we don't have to jump to this grade level expectation. We just gotta watch you grow, baby. Let's just
this is
water
just.
the
I just
plant.
want to see you. I, my goal is for you to leave better than you came. If I
Exactly.
if I'm watching you walk out that door, and I see that you're leaving better than what you got here, I've accomplished my job as an educator. Because I can't
Yes.
save the world, but I can definitely help you guys be better. I can definitely help you achieve something, any goal that you
Yes.
have, and that's my job as an educator.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I love it. Oh, so now that we talked about teachers and administration, parents, and of course, but what about our community members? Because we do have stakeholders that are not parents, that are community partners. What about them? Should we set expectations for them as well?
Absolutely. I think that, they are the model and the pillar of the community. And so when students see these people within the community and say, hey, I see you, you're walking around the neighborhood, or you have a store here or a church here, or you own a business here. That connection to students seeing people who look like them, people who
Mm-hmm.
live in the same neighborhoods as them, who service their neighborhoods. It's very important to have those connections. Unfortunately, you know, years ago, those community partnerships and those connections with stakeholders were solid. As we're
Mm-hmm.
now, they're so far and few between. You don't see them as much as you used to.
Yes, I can agree with that, and I think it is important. I love that you said that they're seen in the community, and it does make you build a personal connection when that person becomes human to you. Oh, you own a car dealership, but you're also
Yes.
here in my school.
Yep.
You
Yep.
you know you're a black, brown, whoever, Asian, Indian, wherever you're from, and
Yep.
you own this. You're this big time somebody, but you're still here in my school, making a plea for me to show me something different. So I totally agree, and I also agree that many of those partnerships are leaving. I remember in DC, working in DC, it was crazy because we did have large partnerships like Smithsonian Museum. That those were large partnerships because they were there for the city, right? We had the DC Collaborative, which was really built in for teachers to really help them bring the arts to the classroom, because we all know that we face so many cuts that arts are really hard to have. Most of us don't have a music or foreign language
Mhm.
program within most of the, especially if you're in early education, some of those programs are now non-existing. So these other community organizations will come in. But then there were also smaller organizations that were set up through the colleges, and
Yep.
I remember there was this one college that would send students over to help with reading and math after school, but because certain situations that happen with safety and security in the neighborhood, because the neighborhood and also the community and the organizational partnerships didn't ensure that some safety was given, those programs had to leave. So if you
Mhm.
were in an urban area that was a little bit rough or considered rougher than other areas, and it wasn't safe for these students to walk at night or get to the bus stop or get to the train station, then those programs were literally dismantled,
Absolutely.
or at least they were dismantled for that particular school in that area because there couldn't be any safeties met. So I think that if we want to have these partnerships come in, then at least they should provide full on safety so that the most neediest children have access to some of the greatest. I mean, it was one of the most fantastic reading programs I had ever seen from the college. I will not mention the college's name, but it was a prestigious university in the District of Columbia that would send early education and education students to these school districts and different wards of the city. And I mean, especially some of the more challenging wards, which was like Ward 7 and 8 in DC, they would send them there. And now those programs, you can't find them.
No.
I haven't seen those programs since, but what have we done to maintain it, to make sure that those students are safe when they're coming in, to still provide the service that's truly needed for our babies? This expectation wasn't met. It wasn't set either. So we
Absolutely.
said, oh, we're going to do this, but we didn't do what we needed to do to keep it flowing. So that just hurt my feelings. But I do think that more and more teachers and parents and community members need to work more together so that
Absolutely.
we can talk about those things.
It takes a village. I keep saying it, and it's one of those phrases that you've heard for years and years and years. But guess what? It never gets old because it is the truth.
It
The
truly
truth
is.
can't get old. The truth can't get old. The truth
Yeah,
can't get
it's
old.
true.
So, I
It's
mean, I say it all
absolutely
the time.
true.
It takes a village. This is a partnership. We're doing this together. And see, that is probably the biggest expectation that isn't being met. We are not working together.
Ooh.
We're
Yes.
we're not working together, and that's
You
probably
would
one
have
of the
dropped
biggest.
the mic. It would have dropped right there.
Right there, right there. Like you are not
Yeah.
expect. It's like every man for themselves. Like you said, that one
Yes.
teacher that you see that teacher struggling and going through stuff, and you just, hey, I don't know why you keep doing it, girl. You should be going home instead of saying, why are you doing it? Can I help you with something?
Exactly.
What
Ooh.
results are you seeing that I'm not by you being here and working extra and trying hard? Show me something. Help me see whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is that you're seeing.
Yes. Oh, yes, sis. I love that. Oh, that was the mic dropper. I promise you. Like that is the biggest it really is. Like we're not working together. Parents, I mean, parents are separated from teachers. Teachers are separated from administrators. Teachers are separated from teachers. We're all divided and we're all picking
Yep.
sides. It's like everybody's picking a side when there is no side.
There is no side. We're
It's
all on
not
the same side.
about who. We're
There's one
all on the
side.
same. It's like the success of these children. That's the only side that should matter.
That's the
And
only
so
side.
the only side, but we're all picking sides and pulled in so many ways when we're supposed to all be working together. And you're right, that expectation is not being set and is
It's
definitely
not
not being
being,
made. Like
being met.
it's not being met at all. Like it's like, wow, like they're not setting it, they're not meeting it, they're not making it a priority that we're constantly working together. Constantly. We constantly, okay, well, no, we gotta do better to get our families involved. We have to do better. And I know in some districts they're trying, and we want to see you. Those districts, we want you guys, hit us up. We're coming out, we're traveling. We want to come to see these districts. And I'm gonna talk about that at the end. But before we get into that, I do want to hit you with this last question. Now, this one is a little bit, is definitely a little bit more vulnerable in a sense because
Yeah.
it's going to speak specifically to you. But has working in education met your expectations?
So yes and no. So I always say I was a paraprofessional for 8 years, and I worked at an amazing school that wasn't a job. It was a part of my everyday life. It was what I was meant to do. It was why I woke up in the morning. The passion, the drive. It was a community effort that everyone in that
Mm-hmm.
school felt the same way, from the top all the way down to the bottom. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point in my career, all of my expectations were being met. and more.
Mm.
I've never
Wow.
been happier. I always compare any educational experience I've ever had to those 8 years because they were the best years I've ever had. Those 8 years really solidified for me wanting to be a teacher. Like
Wow.
they really helped me say, "Yep, I'm where I need to be."
Mm-hmm.
Now, so many years later, my expectations are not being met. They're not.
Mm.
Not only are they not being met, they're not even thought about. They're not even considered. The
Jesus.
fact that in our district there's so many disparities amongst schools, um, the differences in who gets what resources, who gets what money, who gets how many teachers, who gets this. How it's just no, they're not meeting my expectations, not even close. That
Wow.
uniformity, that commitment to the community, to ourselves, it's not there anymore. It's just not there.
Wow. It's sad. It's very sad. It's sad to hear you say that, but it's so
Well,
sad to hear you say that.
I say it, but that's we'll go back to why I decided to go into administration because I'm ready to stir some stuff up. I'm going to be a spoon. That might have to be my Halloween costume, okay? So I'm gonna be a
Right.
spoon, stir some stuff up, right? I'm gonna stir some stuff up. I have to. I can't continue to sit back and watch something that I'm so passionate about, even when I know my expectations aren't being met. I'm still
Yes.
passionate about what I do,
Yeah,
passionate
it's
about servicing
mm,
children and families. So because of that, I can't give up. I got to keep fighting. I got to find a way to make change. I got to be a part of
mm-hmm.
the change because it's when I tell you it's in my spirit. I pray about this all the time. The change is coming and it is going to be a
Yes.
great one. There are going to be some people out here that are going to stir some stuff up that we're going to be talking about for years to come. They're going to make history with the
Exactly.
things that they're going to do in the education field. They need to
Oh
bring back
yeah.
so many programs for students, for families. There's so much that's lacking. That's lacking.
Yes. Oh, you're right. You're right. But I mean, still, I love the fact that you're one optimistic. You're like, well, look, I know it ain't meeting my expectations. It's not. It is not meeting my expectations at all. And because it isn't meeting my expectations, I'm going to do something to make a change. I'm not going to quit because there are educators who are leaving though. Good educators who are now being pushed out of the door, pushed out of their passion, out of their dreams. Even the debt, I think, of what we put into education, the debt
Absolutely.
of time and studying and resources that we put in
Money
over
for
the years.
student loans and just
Woo!
here I am, year 8. I'm entering year 8 here of getting all these degrees. I'll probably never get out of debt. But
Okay.
I even though with all the debt and all that, at the end of the day, I ask myself, would you have made this choice knowing what you know
Yes.
now? And my answer will always be forever to the day I retire from education. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Aside from all the lacking, aside from all the things that I dislike, um, it's more to me than just saying I'm a teacher. I do more, so much
Yeah.
more than just teach. I love. I show compassion. I show students
Yes.
things that they don't even know exist. I open eyes, minds, hearts. Like I do so
Oh,
much. It's so much more than just teaching. Because
yes. It's so true.
anybody can read anything out of a textbook and tell you, hey, this is what you need to learn. That isn't what teaching is.
Yes.
Teaching is so much
Mm-mm.
deeper than that. If that was the case, we can get any Joe Schmo off the street to come read a science book. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's so
Exactly.
much more than that. It is something that's a calling. It is something that you have to be passionate about. You have to love what you do. And because of so
Yes.
much that's going on in the educational system, there are so many teachers who no longer love what they do. And
Yes.
it's so
And they're
sad.
walking away. Yeah,
And
and they're
that's
walking
they're
away.
walking away because we're not meeting expectations. We're not showing them the value in their profession.
It's so
I think
true. It's
we're
absolutely
not
true.
valued as a profession. We're just not.
No, we're not. And that's an expectation, right? When you go off and you go to a doctor's office, it was funny because my mom would always say, if you went to a doctor's office and and you didn't respect what they did or even how they treated you, you would quickly find a different route. You would go to a different doctor, you would maybe complain or whatever. But educators are the one professional, certified, licensed career choice that when you go into it, you have to maintain all these standards to renew your license, to maintain your license, to stay in the field. But we're
And even
not
get a license in
respected.
the first place.
Exactly, we're not respected. We're not valued. We're not given the respect that we need. So for some of us, just like for those people who go and they don't like how their doctor's treating them, or they don't like how they're being treated, they go and find a new one. So we have teachers who are going to find either a new career, they're leaving out of education, they're walking
Out
away
of
because they
state, out of
don't feel
cities,
out of
districts,
everywhere, out of the
yep,
career in general. They
in
just
general.
don't
Absolutely.
feel valued. And it's hard, even in a relationship, if we didn't feel valued by our partners or our significant others, even our children, we would have an issue with that. The world would have to stop. But
Somebody
educators,
would have
people
to
you,
fix it.
right? Somebody will have to fix it. And people you entrust with your children, you telling me you trust me to have your kids, but you don't trust me? You don't value me? So how do you think that plays a role in me doing a better job with them? Like, and then that's another part of it. There's people who create such a toxic environment for educators, parents,
Absolutely.
administrators, and community members as well, and even other
Everybody,
teachers.
even
Yes,
other
create this toxic environment for some educators who are really passionate, and it just burns their light out. And they literally have to decide, do I leave or do I stay? And they do, and they leave. A lot of them do leave,
a
and some
lot of
of
them
us
do.
are strong enough to say, we're going to stir this pot up and we're going to,
Right.
spoon it out, right? But others, they're leaving, and we're losing some great. And now with COVID, we're losing even more teachers. But listen, Delgado, I love you. I love you so much, and I thank you so much. This is not the last time we're going to
No, I
have
hope
Delgado
not.
on.
I would love to come back.
No, 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 no. We are. This is not at all the last time. If anything, we'll be seeing her soon, sooner than later. And so I'm super excited. And I just want to thank you again for
Thank
just
you.
being a part of this, for lending your voice and your experience. I mean, it really truly means a lot to me, to all of you teachers out there who can relate to what is going on, to what she's saying, to her words. It means so much for us. So I really just want to say thank you.
Thank you. It
But
means a lot to me to be able to share my experiences as an educator, to share the passion and the hope I have for the future, because I don't want
mm-hmm,
to give up. I don't want to walk away. I don't. So I'm
yes,
hoping
and
that
I
more
don't
teachers
either.
feel like me. And this is a great platform. Please invite me back. I want to come back. I have so much more to share and contribute
Yes.
to these great conversations. And hopefully you are now a spoon and you stirring stuff up with me,
We
just in a
start
different
look.
way. We just
Look at
stirring it
the
up.
turn it up, honey. But is there any social media handles that they can get in touch with you if they want to
I
follow
currently
you,
am
follow your
not on
content?
social media. Sometimes you need a detox and to breathe. But
Yes.
knowing now that I'm coming back, I'm gonna have to get on some social media. I want to talk to the public. I want to talk to the audience. I want to know how they feel. I want to see what's going on in other places. Maybe there's some things I'm missing about education that I don't know about. I would love to learn. I would love to talk to people all over the world about, what can we do to strengthen and make this education system so much better.
Yes, thank you. And I'm so glad you gave me that great segue, because that's what we want to do at day one. So listen up, everyone out there. If you know, first of all, if you know any great educators, shout them out. We are starting our teacher highlights. So we are going to be highlighting a great teacher at the end of each show, and also on our web form and our platform, our website, and any of our social media platforms. We're going to be highlighting and shouting out great teachers. If you have a video you want to send in, or if you just want to just see your picture across the board, we want to shout you out. You can nominate yourself, or you can nominate someone. Just send us their information, because we really want to highlight good teachers first and foremost. You guys deserve so much praise. We want to celebrate you. So that's number one. And number two, if you are in a great district, or if you believe your district, your school is an amazing place, and like Delgado said, we want to hear from you. We want to learn from you. We want to see
Yes,
it with our own
yes.
eyes. Invite us out. Invite us to your location. Hi, tell us where you are, and we're coming to see you. Us at Day Ones, we are traveling. We're going to see where you are, because we want to see what this classroom is like. What is the environment over here? What's going on? We want to talk to you guys. We want to put you on the cam and let everyone know what's going on in your neck of the woods. So it doesn't matter where you are. This is a global movement, worldwide. We're trying to see you. So please hit us up, like and follow us on all social media platforms. Day One Productions Group. Please go to our website. All of our information is there as well. Educators, if you want to speak on our platform, please go to our Get More Information or Get Involved tab on our website, www.dayonesproductions.com, and you can find all of the information you need. You can also hear our latest podcast and also see it live because we'll connect you right over to our YouTube platform. And I just want to say thank you again. So clap it up. Thank you so much, Yarritza Delgado.
Thank you. I look forward
Thank
to coming back and sharing more and learning more. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, and educators, you are the day ones, and the voice of educators is here. Please, please, please like, follow, and subscribe. And until next time, my day ones, okay?